Hi guys, welcome to Car Mechanical. Today I'm going to be trying an idea that I've had bouncing around for a while, and that's to have a look at different cars that are for sale online and just to talk about them and sort of make some guesses about future value, projects that are worth taking on and projects to avoid. So the criteria and the scope are probably quite wide, but in general we're looking at cars that are rare that are worth quite a bit, and there might be cars that you weren't expecting to be worth quite a bit. We're going to be looking at cars that are potentially going to increase in their future value. These might be cars that are just a couple of £100 at the moment, but in just a couple of years time could be a couple of £1,000. We're going to be looking at easy projects. We might look at things that no one's taken on that was beyond their skill level, or something that isn't quite right with the project for them but might be right for you. And we're going to be looking at projects to stay away from as well. There's plenty out there, and there's a couple of red flags that I'll go through as and when they do come up in different listings. And we're going to be looking at, sometimes there's just straight bargains out there. People list things poorly on eBay sometimes, and you can take that to your advantage to grab yourself a bargain if someone doesn't know what they've got. So we're going to have a look at 10 cars, and this car here is just a general Ford Mustang listing. I've only got it up as a sort of background picture because of someone tried to make it more interesting by including John Wick in it to reference the film. However, it is quite a bit different to that car. It needs quite a lot of love and attention. So the first car we're going to look at is a 1987 Renault 5 Turbo 2. It's a left-hand drive. It's very low mileage. It's about 15,000 kilometers, I think it says down there. And the buyout now was 45,000, but I think because it's had bids on it, it cancels out the buyout now. However, it's had 44 bids and it's at nearly £31,000. I think that's going to finish between 35 and 40. We'll wait and see. We'll come back on that potentially in the next time we do one of these. But it's just very interesting to see that something that's got motorsports heritage like the Renault 5 Turbo has kind of got this kind of value behind it. There's quicker cars out there that are cheaper, but the association with it means that the price of it's quite high, and the fact it's sort of a turbo mid-engine car. Weighs absolutely nothing. If the turbo's been fettled with, it's probably making at least a couple hundred horsepower as well. So, you know, absolutely crazy, but that's sort of car number one. So the second car is going to be this particular kit car I've got here, but it's true of quite a few kit cars you see on eBay. And the price for it doesn't seem too bad. It's a mostly done project. It's got one bid on it at the moment. I don't think it'll get too many more bids before it finishes. And there's been quite a lot of work done to it. Now, these are the ones that raise flags for me, in particular, because I do wonder why someone would get so far down a project like this and not complete it. Now, there is kind of the truth of life gets in the way of projects, and you know, certain things happen that means that you can't finish it if it's cost or anything like this. In the listing, it says that it's nearly done and it can be finished with a couple of long weekends. Now, part of me thinks, why isn't the person that's listing this finishing it off? And I think in part the reason for that is there's a lack of confidence that it can pass the test that it needs to go through to register a kit car when it's complete. So when you build a kit car in the UK, one thing you need to do is get an individual vehicle approval. So that means that you need to take it to an approval centre, you need to pay to get it tested, and you need to get it there as well. So I do wonder with kit cars, I think sometimes for some people it's like, it's a great idea, I can get this done in my garage, and the further along they get towards completion, there's a lot of little bits and pieces that aren't just getting the chassis and the engine and the big bits in. It starts getting down to wiring, and it starts getting down to, I need to get it to be tested, so I need to rent something that I can trail it on, I need to get a pickup van, I need to get someone to go and take it there, what if it fails? And I think that's why sometimes people don't finish these projects and pass them on. There's an awful lot of them on eBay like it. There are a lot of finished kit cars on there that you can buy, but there's a hell of a lot of cars that aren't finished, that say could be finished with just a little bit of work. For me, that's one where I think stay away a little bit. You know, unless you know what you're taking on, there's a reason why the person hasn't finished it to selling it. Okay, the next car is going to fall under kind of bargain category, but also fun. So this is a Volvo 940, so 2.3 red block turbo. And if you know your Volvos, you know that they are quite easy to tune. This has already had a few different bits and pieces done to it, and as we go down to the listing, we're going to see that it's been taken to the Nürburgring. However, you're kind of taking on someone else's project here that they've probably already put a good couple of £100 into, you know, if not more. And apparently they've taken that paint off, so it's gone back to sort of normal from when it went to the ring. But what's interesting here, it's got an MOT, so you can actually go away and just drive it. It's got a manual boost controller, it's got bucking seats, it's got a harness. Not sure I'm keen on the harness, I don't like the idea of running around to shops and having to plug myself into the harness fully and then come back out of it 60 seconds later when I'm at the co-op, but there you go. I think it's quite interesting. It's at £205 at the moment. I suspect that's going to finish well under £700, and you got yourself quite a sleeper. If we go back to kind of this sort of image here, no one's going to really know what it is, but for a very small amount of money you could have a fairly quick, fairly fast car. Okay, the fourth car is this thing here. Now, honestly, personally, this isn't to my taste, however it might be to others, and I think it's going to finish for not much more than it is at the moment. It ends in about 3 hours time. What's kind of interesting here, I think the body kit and the work that's been done to it probably cost the person that did it at the time quite a lot of money. So I think if you were to take something like this on, it needs repainting, maybe plasti dipping. I think the wheels need spacing out. Apparently it does drive, but it's got the 1.8 litre engine. I think that, I don't know if that's the ST170, I don't know my Fords too well, but I think that wants one of the proper ST engines in it. And it could be sort of a fast, nice little show car. And if anything else, it's just a little bit different. I remember when these headlights used to cost about £400 each. I imagine the grille and the other bits and pieces on there are worth a bit. Potentially this is worth buying just to break it and to sell the bits on to someone else. The engine itself will probably still get £100 to £200. The wheels are probably £50 to £100. Bits of the interior, as long as that's not been messed with too much. Yeah, so that could live on as someone else's project car or make some money out of it. Car number 5 is a GMC Jimny V8. Now it says big block, but it's a 5.7 litre. I'm not sure if that counts as one of the big blocks, it's not an LS from the quick looking I've done into it. And yeah, this one's quite interesting because we don't get many American cars for sale in the UK. And I think it's just kind of interesting that although it is quite clearly in need of some love, this could be quite a cheap way to get an American car. I'm not sure how much the parts would be to get it into sort of full working order, but it's fairly unique. I think maybe something like plasti dipping this, satin black or something. That could be on the road maybe fairly, I say cheaply in sort of inverted commas here. I thought it was just quite interesting to sort of see something that's American and unique in V8, and a nice sort of straight pipe exhaust on that can make that sound quite great. Interesting to see what price that actually does finish for and how much they've got down as a reserve for it. It's clearly not on the road at the moment. The owner is there for contact on some of the details. If you go and find a listing, I'm not going to show his number on the video. So I think that was kind of interesting. It does need a bit of work, but then when we start looking at American stuff in the UK, the price is quite high. Okay, car number 6 is one that interests me quite a bit. Maybe not this particular listing, but one like it. So this ends about tomorrow morning, and it's a Jag XK8 Coupe Auto. I quite like the look of these cars quite a bit. It's a shame they're not manual. It does interest me if anyone could ever manual convert them. This particular one has a few issues. It's got some rust, and that is listed. So I think if someone took this on, I wouldn't be so much worried about the sills. I'm sure that they could be fixed and covered up fairly easily. I'm not too sure how you deal with those back ones. I think if you were taking this car on, you would probably be doing patchwork to the back with body filler, and eventually it's going to rust out. But potentially it's a fun V8 car for a couple of years. You put a sporty exhaust on it and you get a great sound of a Jag. So I think that one was listed as having quite a bit of other work done to it as well. But there you go, nice cheap Jag. Okay, car number 7. I actually lined these up yesterday, and unfortunately the listing has been finished overnight. So for whatever reason, the seller's pulled it. Maybe he sold it elsewhere, or maybe he was just getting a lot of emails. This one caught my attention because of it's fairly jazzy, but it's actually had a few different bits and pieces done to it that I'd reverse, but I'd keep some of the other bits like the wheels in place. So I think the MX-5, as everyone knows, it's quite a good platform. It is quite fun, and about the £800 price that this was going for, you're probably in for sort of quite a bargain, assuming that there's no rust there and you're giving yourself quite a fun little drive. So this one, or cars like it, I think are quite a good buy with the MX-5s, and they're also quite interesting because they're the platform for a lot of kit cars. So I think that's more interesting with like an Expo set, which is a kit car that you can do in a couple of weeks or a couple of months because they provide you everything to do to it, and there's very little need for sort of custom welding. Okay, car number 8 makes its way onto the list because of, I used to be quite a big fan of Peugeot 306s, and I still am. And I thought that what someone's done to this car in this project is interesting. I'm not sure it's something I would have done myself, and I do wonder what this car would look like finished. However, the price it's up for at the moment is really cheap. I don't think that's going to go for much more than £500. but it probably doesn't have an awful lot of work done to it if you wanted to finish it. Personally, I'm quite a big fan of wide-bodied 306s. I'm not a fan of that front end, but I thought this was quite interesting because there's been quite a lot of time that's been put into this. It always interests me where it gets to the point where panels have been bonded on and the car's been modified, but for whatever reason it's not been painted even with sort of a £100 spray job, just to give an idea of what it could look like. It kind of gets to a point where the work just stops. Now the 306 is quite a great, interesting car. If you've ever driven one, it's quite a bit more unique, and they're very light. They're about 1,000 kilograms. I used to have a XSI, which was a 150 horsepower one, and never had the GTI 6, but my XSI was probably quicker than the 2.5 litre TDI Quattro Audi I've got at the moment. Okay, the 9th car on the list is this Subaru Legacy. It's a 3 litre, and I put it in here because it's just quite interesting. Someone's repainted it because I didn't like the original colour, and from what I can see, the satin finish they've got on it, they've not done too bad a job. I'm not sure it's my choice of colour. However, the car itself doesn't look too bad in my opinion. It's got leather seats, it looks quite nice inside. I'm not particularly 100% sure if the power figure quoted is correct, 245 horsepower, but it seems about right for the engine size. And I just thought this one was quite interesting, that you could pick a car up for £2,000. It's got an MOT on it until next year. It just seems like something fun that you could pick up and go away and drive, and it's actually not too expensive, so there you go. And the 10th final car is going to be this 1991 Volkswagen Passat. It's got low mileage. At £800, I think that's a very fair price for it. I don't think it's going to go up in value within the very short term, but I think longer term there aren't going to be many examples of old Passats like this out there. This one looks incredibly clean, although it does seem to be in need of some sort of paint attention. But I think that going over this with clay bar and polish and just looking after the trim and keeping this in good condition, I suspect that that could be worth quite a few times its current value within 5 to 10 years. This is always speculative because of my driveway. I can put 4 or 5 cars on and then you can't move for anything. So I actually only have 2 or 3 cars. But if you had the space to buy something like this and sort of to make that gamble, you know, potentially you could be sitting on something that goes up quite a bit in value, and you can sort of see the prices that Ford Sierras are going up with at the moment. As cars start to come off the road, when we see the older examples, we start to see the values going up quite a bit. You may disagree, so be interested to hear what your feelings on that are, but I think that with something like that, I think that could go up in the long run. So that's the end of this first 10 eBay picks of this week. I hope you found it interesting. Do you agree, do you disagree with the things that I found? What's out there that you'd personally go for? I just find it interesting when you go through eBay, when you go through Gumtree, or when you go through Facebook Marketplace. So these are things I might incorporate in the future, just to kind of see what is out there and what people are looking for, and some of the hidden gems. Now, some of these were hidden gems, some of these were things to avoid, and some of these are potentially things that if you purchase could be worth more in the future. Okay guys, thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button. If you've got any comments or feedback, please leave them in the comment section down below, and more than anything, thank you for watching.